Hey, how are you, Deepak?
Hey, great. Nice to see you, Lindy.
Good to see you as well. Thank you so much for being on here today, and welcome. I'm in Boston. This is Deepak Seth, my guest, who is I'm assuming you're in Dallas right now, correct?
Yes, based in Fort Worth, Texas.
Okay,
Yep.
I'm sorry. I should say Fort Worth. I could get into a lot of trouble for that. So, well, thank you so much for being on here. And I am super excited. The first time I heard you speak, you were talking with Ryan, Ryan Harper over at Propelio. And I love his show. Actually, I met him through LinkedIn when we were asked to speak at a program that LinkedIn did for the real estate industry in Dallas a couple of years ago, I guess. So welcome. I found your conversation with him really fascinating. So for those of you that are joining us, let us know where you're from, and let us know any questions you might have for Deepak or for myself. We're really going to be talking a lot today about technology and innovation. Deepak is a business technology leader, an innovation leader in the business world, and I love your insight onto technology and how that's changing things. And we also want to talk a little bit about the opportunities and the changes that I think COVID-19 is certainly going to usher in, and I think open doors for technology in ways that maybe we haven't even imagined. So Deepak, I think I've talked long enough. I really want to hear from you. Share with me a little bit about, in our audience, who you are and what you do.
Okay, nice. Thanks, Lindy. First of all, thanks for having me on this show. And I really appreciate your enthusiasm and passion for what you do. So that's what made me. And another important thing is the power of LinkedIn. So you saw something which I did with Ryan Harper, and now you decided to bring me on. So that's wonderful indeed. So it makes one thing that technology is working. What we are putting out there, people are watching and paying attention to. So basically means I've been working in the space of innovation and technology for many years now. I like to think of myself as a visionary, as a futurist. In fact, that's a role which I occupy on one of the local bodies on the organization committee for Association of Business Technology Professionals, the Dallas Fort Worth chapter. I am the visionary and futurist on their team. So basically looking at trends, looking at technologies, and trying to see what impact they can have on business. What do businesses need to do in order to deliver value to their customers? And to do that, they need to stay up with the times, need to understand what technology can do and also what technology cannot do, and be mindful of the disruptions which may be coming. An interesting thing which comes to mind as I come to that, few years ago, Harvard Business Review had carried an article about how disruptions happen and how they can quickly upturn, bring about a change in the fortunes of companies. And then I had written a rejoinder to that, which was again published in the Harvard Business Review, where I was talking about disruption. Though it appears to be sudden, it is never sudden. It is coming for a long time. And companies, if they want, companies, people, individuals, they can do a lot of things to be prepared for the disruption. So only if you're not ready for the bus, then the bus will surprise you. But if you are ready, you can climb that bus and you can go places on it. So it is important that companies, people, all keep their eyes out for what can be disruptors and keep thinking of how that disruptors, rather than bringing a downturn for them, can lead to an uptick for them.
And that's so important. I think that's one of the things that I've really been talking to a lot of people about, is to see that, look for the opportunity, right? Look for the silver lining. We've got a number of people on here. I want to give a shout to, we've got Brent Knapp from Fort Worth. He's in technology, correct? Is he somebody that you're connected with? Steve Lester, who's a real estate agent in Allen, Texas, serves the North Dallas area. Peter May in Philadelphia. I was actually on a phone call with him today, which was quite interesting. He might be somebody that I can connect you with. Scott Falbo in Buffalo. So welcome. If you have read the introduction and if you know anything about Deepak, you know that this is going to be a rather lively conversation, I think, and not meant to be provocative at all. I don't need to have a Jerry Maguire moment. I am not looking to have a target on my forehead for the real estate world. I think it's just a matter of just facing reality, right? Things were changing.
Yeah,
And
means
I
means
was just going to say, the interesting thing was you had mentioned, and the reason that you really piqued my interest was an article you quoted from The Economist back in February before all this happened.
yeah. So yeah, means and in full disclosure, means I'm not a real estate or a relocation guy at all. That is not my area of expertise. That is Lindy's area of expertise. I look at me as an outsider as far as the world of real estate and relocation is concerned. But as a person who's got a keen interest in technology, has his eyes out on what things are happening, and just sharing informally sharing some thoughts and views. So you can some of it will be very sweet medicine and some of it could be bitter medicine, but take it or leave it as you may wish. Lindy, lost you. You are on mute, I think.
Sorry, thank you. You're a technology and innovation leader, and we've got to look at the way the world is changing. I always equate it to, when I talk to real estate agents in this business, would you want to own a Blockbuster franchise right now or have stock in Netflix? Mm-hmm. I'm kind of going for stock in Netflix, mm-hmm. But we also have a real interesting challenge going on in the real estate world, in that we just have seen what the technology, these companies were betting on technology. Redfin, they just laid off 41% of their agents. iBuyer, that program has been suspended. They can't keep it up now. You've got consumers now that are really at their equity and want to protect it more, and now we are doing remote closings. I did a remote closing a couple of weeks ago. I've got another client that I'm going to be hopping on a call with next that's wanting to buy something remotely. I can do everything right here, right? And I can even do it in Boston, even though I'm only licensed in real estate in Dallas. But there's certain things that I can do with the consumer because they've got everything they need in the palm of their hand, right?
Yeah.
It's really changing the whole structure of it. And I hope it will get to where agents get paid for everything they do. I think that's been one of the biggest challenges in the industry, is that agents a lot of times work for free, or they get overpaid to make up for the times they're underpaid, or for those broker fees and for referral fees that sometimes aren't in line with the services. So I really think we're going to see what technology, really can bring to the table.
So even means when I'm talking about other than real estate, means there are some big technological trends happening. One big one is what I call, and what the others have also called, Uberification. Means everything trying to go on the Uber model, where there are independent service providers. There's a platform. People use the services of the platform. The rates can vary depending upon supply and demand. The key part that a platform is doing is, one, it is putting the supply and demand together at the time at which it is needed, and second is it is providing a layer of trust, because the assumption is, like, people would be wary of getting into any random car, but if it's a Uber or a Lyft car, that the company has vetted the drivers and stuff like that. So it is providing that layer of trust. So it is providing convenience, it is providing trust, and it is providing a mechanism of interaction. And the rates are variable according to demand and supply. So this is a model which many other sectors are trying to replicate, because now the framework exists, the technology framework exists, and you can think of many different businesses where the same model, the same Uberification can happen. So it could be an interesting point to think whether Uberification could be something which could come to the real estate world too, where it is, there is a buffet of services on order, and you pick and choose what you want at what point of time, and there are rates, and there are people who can provide those services, and this platform is providing. Now this platform can be run by an existing body, by your existing association or whatever, so that level of trust it is still providing, that the people on the platform are vetted and meet minimum standards. But then the matching of the demand and supply is done real time using those tools. Because one other thing which it does is that many times I think the consumer, and I was talking with Lindy also, you don't need, for looking at a particular house at a particular time, you don't need that one specific realtor to be there, because most of the times, if it's a large metro and it's in an area different from where they operate, they are not providing any useful value other than just opening the door and letting you in, kind of thing. So the Uberification is one trend. Lindy, you got a question here?
Well, here, I'm going to give a shout out to everybody that's on here. We've got Matt Kern, who is an inspector, a home inspector in Dallas. Bill Wendell. Bill is somebody that you would be interested. He speaks way over my head. He's a tech guy. He's an MIT guy in Harvard. You should connect with him and talk. He has a lot of really interesting perspective on the real estate industry and how it should be. And he's been banging this drum for 20 years. I think it's really going to take the consumer feeling like they have a voice, which is really one of the things that I'm really trying to do, is help the consumer's voice be heard. I was getting ready to do a man on the street interviewing people to just get them to share their frustrations, because I think the industry needs to hear about it and work to solve it, right? That's what any business does. We look at the consumer and the challenge when you talk about Uberification, we have changed. The consumer has changed, right? We've got everything in the palm of our hand. We shop differently. We're looking at houses differently. We have a lot of information. We need really somebody that can open the door and somebody that can decipher that information. But agents, by and far, I think, are spending a lot less time on the actual day-to-day work of working with the client. They're more lead generating and looking for the next client. And working to keep the broker afloat. I mean, I hate to say it, but there are just some real challenges for real estate agents. So again, I'm not anti-agent. I'm very pro-agent, but I'm really pro-agent in working smarter. And I'm sorry it's so loud in here. I told them I was going to be doing this, but I'm in the lobby of where we live. So let me give a few more shouts out. Charles is here. Hey, Charles. Amy Jacobs is an agent and focuses on relocation. Wendy Gilch is on here. She has a platform called Selling Later. If you're a real estate agent on here, Matt Kern, she's somebody you want to connect with. Right now, when people are worried about putting their home on the market and they're worried about days counting against them, Wendy's platform allows you to put your home on the market without it being in MLS and to let your neighbors know, let other agents know that your home is available for sale, or maybe it's going to be on the market in July. But now I can go ahead and find it, and it's not going to count against my days on the market if I'm the seller, and I can go ahead and let people know that my house with the pool and 5 bedrooms is going to be for sale in July, so that relocation buyer especially can go ahead and look and see what's coming up. Does that make sense? I think it's a brilliant platform. So welcome, everybody. Appreciate it. Please continue to let us know. Chris Roberts, welcome. Thanks for being here. Feel free to comment below and just let us know where you're from. It's always fun to see where people are listening in from. But yeah, I think it's there's some interesting issues with it. I think you just still have big business and corporate involved in it. You've got these conglomerates. I mean, Realogy, which has been actually under fire with the class action lawsuit, so owns a lot of the brokerages. And so there's this real tug and pull between being able to deliver what the consumer wants and being able to evolve with technology versus the realization that we can't operate the way we've always operated if we change our model, because it's just fundamentally the two don't go together.
Yeah, I mean, so this is an interesting dilemma which has been faced in many different sectors at various points of time. And I think in some context, you had used the word tipping point earlier. So at a particular stage in the evolution of any technology or interaction between technology and consumers, you hit that particular point where things start changing. So maybe the time is ripe for that now. Maybe things like COVID will bring about changes. I spent a lot of.
Can I say something real quick? Bill Wendell said 1 in 3 agents has less than 2 years of experience. Do you really want to trust them during this epidemic? I was talking to some other guys this morning about some things that they're doing for investors, and the bad information that can be given by real estate agents sometimes can be crippling to a consumer, and that's one of the things. And I think I've got tons. I think I received 5 phone calls last week from brokerages asking me to come and join them. They don't know anything about me. They're not vetting the agents. It's not really fair to all these agents that have lost all their work. Why are they recruiting? Why are these brokerages recruiting more agents? Why are they not making sure that the agents that they have are successful? Right? So another person on here is Michael Walsh. He is in Toronto. He's an agent that works exclusively with buyers. That's another challenge that I see, is that a lot of times the consumer doesn't know the questions to ask. They don't understand how commissions work. They don't understand referral fees. They don't understand that the listing agent is actually working for the seller. They're working for the broker. That can be a real conflict of interest. And again, it's one of the things that is under fire in the courts right now that they're working to make some changes with. But again, you got to know what you don't know. You have to know the questions to ask.
Yeah, absolutely. And so welcome everybody who's on the calls. Nice to see so many people joining the conversation. That's wonderful indeed. We spoke about one trend, which was Uberification. Uber brought it about, and the point I was leading up was going into was the tipping point, and the point around. So many times, I lived in Rochester, New York for many years, and as you know, it's the place where Kodak was. And Kodak invented digital photography, but everyone knows what happened to it, because they were so stuck on film and they couldn't move past it. Now, in this world, in the world of real estate and realtors, I am seeing, like Lindy and you and others maybe are trying to stay ahead of the curve. Maybe the larger body is not there yet. I mean, it will see what's coming ahead and morph accordingly, or it may fall by the wayside. Both the things can happen. So Kodak, the latter happened. It fell by the wayside, and there are other companies which have continued to evolve as things changed and have managed to stay ahead of the curve. Now, I spoke about Uberification. The other interesting trend, means a broader technological trend, again driven by the name of a corporate, could be Amazonification, which is how the customer expects everything to be very easy. It is not. The consumer, as a customer, I myself as a consumer, I just want to be able to click one, or it's like the Staples easy button. You call it Amazonification, call it Staplification, or whatever. You just want to press a single red button, and it should be buy now or get stuff done. And this can link up to the earlier point you were making about consumers not having information about many different things. Maybe some easy buttons are needed, which give them those information, either gratis or at some charge, or some mechanism evolves by which those information can be shared. Means an important component of this is because right now I think this entire experience, which the real estate transaction is taken as a one single experience, and a blanket price has been applied to it, like the 6% or 3% buyer, 3% seller, all that agent kind of thing. But what constitutes that basket of services means at some point of time, sooner or later, means that basket will need to get broken down in its individual components, and those components would need to get priced separately, because many of the things which are driven by technology, the prices have fallen. So even the work involved in getting A and B to meet each other may have been phenomenal earlier on in the early days, and so a high value could have been ascribed to it. But in these days, when all the information is available on the internet, means it's a low cost transaction. So why should the same premium be charged for that activity when it is no longer such a high cost activity? So those streamlining of those costs. So one is the streamlining of the costs, and the repricing of the bundle may need to happen. Second is the services which make up that bundle can be offered discreetly, rather than, okay, you have to take the full bundle. Maybe I don't want the full bundle. I want only A, B, and X and Y from it.
Yeah. And the challenge too is, I used to work for a full service brokerage where I started out paying 40% commission splits to them, and I was very limited. I couldn't list a house unless I listed it at 6%. And that's not against the rules that a brokerage can set the listing agreement or listing commissions, but the industry as a whole cannot set it. So there was no problem legally with them doing that. But it did keep me from being able to tailor my services, tailor the commissions that I accepted on the services I provided. So when I left that company, I went to a company, and there are more and more of these brokerages that are popping up, where I only paid $5,000 a year. Well, that's very different than what I was paying at this other company, because not only was I only paying $5,000 a year, at the other company I was paying $200 in desk fees just to be there every month. This other company, no bells and whistles, but I really had everything I needed to serve my clients. One of the things that I would do when I listed a home is I would give them a list of things that I wanted them to do. I would knock my price down by 1 or even 1.5% if they would do those things. For example, one of the last ones, I said, listen, we'll take $8,000 off the listing price, if you will. And I named the things I needed them to do. I needed them to board the dog because I didn't want to have to show a house with a dog and if it smelled like dog. I need you to replace this carpet, paint the garage floor, paint the kitchen cabinets. And you do that. And then for every dollar you spend, I'm going to reduce the fees. The challenge, though, can also be with the buy side. You have, and I wrote an article on Blockbuster and Netflix kind of describing it out when I was a fairly new agent. And I would be so frustrated because I was a very active marketer in marketing my properties. And often the buyer would find me and they didn't have an agent because, again, they have everything in the palm of their hand, right? They didn't have an agent. They would find me and they would then go find an agent. So they've just been looking, going to open houses, looking at Zillow, calling random agents that would show them a house, and then they would never call that agent again. So that agent never got paid. But then they would find the house that they wanted to buy, which in this case was me, and the offer was 3%, and 2 of these happened in the same month. One was an $18,000 fee going to the buyer's agent. Another one was a $26,000 fee going to the buyer's agent. That was just how it was listed in MLS with 3%, which is pretty typical and also under fire right now. But the agent never showed them the home. They found the home with me. They had never shown them home. So they basically got paid $24,000 to fight my seller on the price of their home, to fight for repairs, and to write a contract. Right? About 10 hours of work. When you're getting paid more to fill out a promulgated form and then to fight the seller who's paying you the fee to get a lower price for your house, something's wrong, right? That seller would have been better off coming directly to me and saying, all right, listen, the real estate would be 3%. Let's just knock off 3%. I'm not going to use an agent. I'm going to waive right to representation. The challenge with that is so many brokers would never let you do that. They listed it at 6%. They're going to collect their 6%, and clients don't know that, and that's why a lot of times the clients would come to me and they say we don't want an agent, and they didn't understand how it worked. And that's where I go back to the consumer has to know what they don't know, and agents have got to stand up for themselves and refuse to work for free. And in fact, Bill, who's on here, has a fee for service model, which I think is a brilliant model, right? Pay me for the time that I spend. Pay me for my expertise, right? And tailor your services, just like you said.
Means in the Uber model, means in addition to other things, means you could have ratings and stuff also, means so people could weigh that price along with your quality rating or whatever parameters you have been rated on in the past, so people can get so there could be a score or something. Lindy, again, you're on mute, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't even get me started on ratings, because that's another problem we have in the industry. There is no, and every agent on here, and you all know it, that's on here, y'all know bad agents. You know agents that are not working for their consumer, but we can't say anything. I had an agent that did this with me in Dallas several times, and I couldn't report her because what if my client was wanting to buy her next listing? Or what if she had the buyer for my next listing? So I really couldn't say anything. And that's not right. And then you've got companies like, I think it's HomeLight, that rates them. You can go on and you can pick the right agent. They promise that, but they're taking like a 35% referral fee. So you just took money away from the agent for using a job matching site. Call me, I'll do it for $500, and then you take the referral fee, right? I mean, to me, that makes a lot of sense. You know, let me make a connection for you. Pay me a fee for the time. Just spend an hour on the phone. What's that worth to you? And then let's get you the referral fee. If that makes more sense. I've actually talked to, there's a gentleman in Dallas, I don't know if you've met Willie Baronet. He's a SMU professor at SMU, but he also created the documentary Signs of Humanity for Homelessness. And you've got Sherry Garcia with Cornbread Hustle. You've got so many great causes there in Dallas. What if some of these billions of dollars being wasted on commissions were spent to actually alleviate some of the problems we have in society that are costing us as taxpayers millions of dollars. Which again is one of the things that really attracted me to you. And I heard those statistics you said, and if you've got them off the top of your head, I'd love to hear them again. The money that is spent on commissions in the real estate industry, to me, for the value that the consumer is getting, and for what agents are paid, somewhere between $30,000 to $50,000 a year. That's the average. Agents aren't making a lot of money at this. They're struggling.
Those stats came from the Economist article, but I can repeat them again. I don't have them top of my head, but I've got them noted down here, so I can.
Okay, I'd love to repeat them. I actually linked the article in the above. If anybody wants to hear more and know that Deepak is not making up these statistics, but I think it puts it in perspective. And we can do better than this, but we're going to have to do better when this is over.
Yeah, means the value of residential properties sold in the US in 2019 was 34 trillion. The total value of residential properties 34 trillion. Retail and commercial is 16 trillion. So it's like $50 trillion. And that is more than the market capitalization of all listed companies. 7% home change hands every year. Home owners traded property of $1.5 trillion in 2019. Paying $75 billion in commission. Stocks of $40 trillion were traded every year, but the fees paid is only $10 billion. So it is $1.5 trillion of real estate and $75 billion in commission, and $40 trillion of stocks, but just fees of $10 billion. So just compared to real estate means in stocks and all, it is much less. So this is these are the kind of big numbers, but still the iBuyers, the property tech related sales are still small. Only 60,000 homes worth $8.9 billion, which is just 0.5% of all transactions. So a lot of work needs to happen. So the tipping point which you were mentioning about means so the dollar amounts are so huge. So there is a lot of interest. I'm guessing there would be a lot of interest in maintaining the status quo. And that would mean that there's a lot of money being channeled to people who can help maintain the status quo. So must be lobbies and means a lot of political influence and all would be at play. Now, what brings about change means like the taxi companies didn't go out and create Uber. So since till Uber came along and Lyft came along, means the taxi unions or the taxi associations are not created Uber. Similar nexus exists in the auto dealership sector, where nothing disruptive change has not come about yet, because it is a well entrenched and well linked into the political process kind of system there too. But then an Elon Musk can come about and create a whole Tesla and then try to create a mechanism where cars can be shipped directly to the house kind of thing. And in used car sales means we see disruptions happening where the dealer is getting bypassed and stuff is happening on online. But it takes time to build that critical mass where it can disrupt the status quo. So either a newcomer will come and disrupt the status quo, or the preferred method could be that the existing association of means the realtors themselves come to a conclusion that, you know what, this gravy train has gone along too long, but we still want to ride it, but let's keep controlling the engine, but in a different kind of way, modify the way they work and change kind of thing. So right. And I don't know the intricacies of the system, but this is what I'm guessing is going on.
The intricacies are interesting. I think that was one of the things that hit me. I attended Inman Connect in New York City. And one of the things that really hit me while I was there was there was so much talk about disruption technology, but it was really geared towards the real estate agents. It wasn't geared towards the consumer. It was geared towards how do we attract more agents? How do we create more technology? That's not disruption to me. It's like taxi getting new taxis. That didn't change. You've got nicer taxis. I can pay now with my card in the taxi. But that doesn't disrupt the ride service. Uber, Lyft, they disrupted it. They changed it. I think that it's going towards the gig economy. I think real estate will go towards it. iBuyer is suspended. That didn't work out, or it's not going to work out during this. I, as a consumer, as somebody who's relocated a number of times, I need the human element. There's a guy named Bobby that's created a new tech form called Ask DOS. It's a brilliant platform. It's especially going to be great for people that are looking to buy something across town. They're doing all the work. They just need somebody to write the contract. He also sees it going to maybe you don't have listing agents for properties. In fact, Wendy Guild, I did see her comment. She said that those commission numbers that you gave a while ago were staggering. And they really are. They're staggering. It really puts it in perspective. And you see how much waste there is and how much of that money is being used to support an industry that doesn't work anymore. Again, it would be like trying to maintain Blockbuster in your small town instead of understanding that Netflix is going to provide a better experience. It's going to be less money, and that manager of Blockbuster, he's going to survive. He's just going to need to buy some Netflix stocks or find some different ways to operate. And I mean, everything changes, right? What's dangerous is not to evolve, as Bezos says. And so I think I think the disruption is going to come from the consumer demanding it. I think the disruption is going to come from knowledge, and I think it's going to come from the real estate agents. Honestly, I think we as real estate agents, to a large degree, are to blame for not standing up and going, why am I still paying 40% to a broker? I read a while ago, let me see if I can find the statistics. One of the big brokerages paid out 112,000 referrals, which means basically I'm an agent at XYZ in Dallas, and I call just a random agent that's in that same network in New York, and I say, hey, will you take care of this client and send me a 30%, 25% referral fee? And of course they go, yes, absolutely, I will. And then I get a $10,000 check in the mail.
Yeah.
Who paid for that? The seller paid for it. The seller's equity paid for that. I don't want to be. I'm very free marketplace. I'm very much of a free economy. But I think it just has to make sense. I have to be able to justify the value that I've added with the paycheck that I get at the end of the day. But I was going to finish that statistic. 112,000 for at the cost of $36 billion. That was just one company. That was just one company.
Wow.
That's
you bring up a great point. Means in the sense that the inward focused disruption versus consumer focused, customer focused one, means that's a great way to put it, because the first one means it will generate efficiencies for yourself, and it is like, okay, what does it get the consumers? So we looked at two trends. We were talking about Uberification. We talked about Amazonification, or Staples easy button kind of thing. The third interesting thing which I can see playing out, especially in the post-COVID scenario, means a lot of actual visits to places and things are not going to happen. Means you just can't go out and see things the way you used to. But the need to do that would still be there, and that's where again technology can step in. Means I'm thinking that virtual reality can play an increasing role in that. Means I was reading up somewhere about a company which was offering, you can't travel to the Everest, but you can sign up for a virtual reality tour where an actual climber is climbing Everest, and then you enjoy the journey. You put the headset on and you enjoy. Yeah. So,
and I think we connected with Ved the other day with Flip Spaces, and they've got a great technology. I know we talked about the virtual reality classes. I think sellers, now that they see that you can actually just tour my home without me having to pack up my children and put them in the car and drive away, and the seller may or may not, the buyer may or may not show up. I think sellers need that option, right? To be able to let people virtually explore their home, see their neighborhood, and have some kind of. The other big challenge is that agents are so they're so struggling to get that next client. They'll go show a client anything, anytime, anywhere, without having any documentation, without having completely. I'm sure that person is going to be able to qualify for that loan. There is no checks and balances to make sure that buyer that's coming into your house is actually even ready to buy. Right? You have a lot of people that are just looking. Right? They're tire kicking. And again, I just sold my house. I've moved a dozen times, and usually with babies and toddlers at home. That's a lot of work for somebody. So now that we've got this capability, we need to be using it more. We have a lot of capabilities like that we should be using more. I think the challenge has been how do we really can't justify the commissions we're charging.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, these would because this can take it. These, if one decides to use these technologies, means that can be a pretext for keeping the commissions also, if this high value can be provided. Because right now what happens is, even when somebody is actually physically and going and looking at a property, you're doing that at a particular point of time, but there are certain other things you want to see what it looks at like at different points of time. You may want to look at what does the walk from there to the school feel like, what does a drive from there to the grocery store feel like. Means a lot of other things which we are not even thinking of right now. But if you have got everything on a virtual platform, means you put that virtual headset on, you've got these scenarios built in, and you say, you know what, this is what this looks like at 6 p.m. This is what it looks like 6 a.m. This is what the bus stop looks like where the kids are picked up for school. Means all the kinds of other things which a consumer may be interested in, or a smart technology company or realtor company can start making the consumers interested in. You know what? This is the high. This is what it looks like when the grass is unkempt. This is what it looks like when the grass has been mowed. You can have like so many different scenarios play out in this. In once you've got those virtual reality headsets on. Because I visualize a scenario where when you decide to get into the buying process, means if you sign up with a realtor, you find that 2 virtual reality headsets are delivered at your doorstep. Either it is and then you put them on, you put your parameters in, you can look at various properties through those virtual headsets, and when you are done with the transaction, either you return them back, or if you have done actually signed a deal, then they are yours to keep, kind of model.
Perfect. You can give it to that mad 17-year-old angry at you for moving. Oh, you get a great headset. We're moving you to Boston, but you get a headset. So,
yes.
and there's a lot of implications in the relocation industry for that. Companies pay a lot of money for you to go do what they call a look-see trip. And so you might go somewhere for 4 or 5 days. You go in, you have to go when you have kids during the spring break season, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you might not be moving until July or August. You only have that 1 week to go look at houses, and the house that you want to buy may or not even be on the market yet or not, which is again why Home Selling Later is a great platform. But it's a big expense for the company to fly you over and everything, and you could kind of eliminate and narrow it down. You might still fly over, but you might fly over for 2 days as opposed to 5 if you had able to explore Southlake and Fort Worth and Frisco virtually and been able to explore homes. And so I could see what a $500,000 home looks like in Frisco versus a $500,000 in Fort Worth, and a non-existent $500,000 home in Dallas, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you can kind of go ahead and get an idea of where you're going to live and what those areas are like virtually, and save everybody a lot of time. And again, agents will say that can be one of their biggest, expenses of time. It's just showing homes on weekends and nights, and with people that don't, they don't know where they want to live, and it's one of the things that we do to justify those commissions. But it's an inefficient use of our time.
Mm-hmm. Means other things. Means there is another aspect of technology. There's a line of work not related to real estate, but in other technology they call enterprise. It's called persuasion technology. So basically, what it does is it is creating nudges and gamification kind of things to drive performance. So it is essentially used for frontline staff and others kind of thing. So you know what, you are a burger flipper at McDonald's and you did a particular target and you may get a reward or something like that, or either you're falling short of target, it will notify you, or it can say that, oh, you've done a great job. It knows what is the motivator for different kind of people. So some would be motivated by absolute numbers. You did 20 yesterday, you need to do 25 today kind of thing. Some would be motivated by, oh, you are number 1, number 2 today, you can be number 1. So based on whatever the personality types are, there are these individualized nudges which drive a certain behavior. Now, if we bring aspects of virtual reality and other things in, I mean, this nudge or persuasion technologies can also be built into it. You said, you know what, of all the people who started looking at houses when you did, X% have already made a purchase. I mean, that could be a motivator. Maybe yes, maybe no. Means I'm just thinking of these things as we go. Or say
that could get the housewife or the husband that that likes to look a lot, and then the other one that's like, like a quick decision maker. Every couple has that one that just wants to make a quick decision, and the other one that needs to. That could create a lot of problems.
Yeah, I know. I'm just so
according to the you've already made a decision.
There was just one example, but there could be
aspects. Wendy asked a question. She said, "Does it weed out homes they realize they don't want, or is this? Do you think people will buy properties without going to see it?" Well, I've sold properties without people actually physically going to it. It was one of the times I did it was one of the worst experiences of my life. She was thrilled with it, but it was an interesting property, and I kept telling her, it's basically a mobile home on a lake, right? She kept saying, "Yeah, I know it," but I just knew she was going to show up from Seattle and go, "Oh my God, it's a mobile home." So, but the lake property it was valuable because it was lake property, but yes, so people will buy stuff with sight unseen, but I think more of anything, it's a weeding out process. It's an efficient use of my time. When I was moving from Germany to Dallas, if I had been able to virtually tour homes, and so when I got here, I knew that I wanted to live in a certain area, and so I wasn't having to go to Frisco, to Fort Worth, to Colleyville, to Dallas, right? A lot of tour Dallas, the size of Connecticut. So virtual reality would allow people to kind of narrow it down, or to, really get an idea of the neighborhoods, the areas, and just to narrow that search and to spend their time. Because again, when you're relocating, sometimes you only do have 3 days, and Dallas is a lot of territory to cover in 3 days. So, So Wendy, I hope that answered your question.
And continuing on the same trend means that in addition to the typical broker's role in the sales process, there are other associated processes like mortgage and others which play a key role. So I know Scott Falbo, who's out of Buffalo. He's joined the call. So he's a smart guy. He's set up his own company called LenderLogix. So basically what this does is it streamlines the mortgage process. I don't know the exact details of it, but I would strongly encourage for people to go and check it out. What it does is it helps streamline the process of application for applying for the loans and stuff, and so that it cuts down the time involved in that. So that could be another place where technology is playing a role. And
and I think for me the biggest thing I know understand mortgage side. I don't think they have some of the same problems with oversight. They're like us in that they have a lot of lenders out there that are fighting for the same customers. I often use the statistic that NAR uses that there's 2 million real estate agents in the U.S. and about 5 million transactions last year. Numbers don't work out real well. I just read something about one of the big brokerages. They have 112,000 transactions. They had 15,000 agents, which works out to about 8 transactions per agent. There's another huge company here that's about the same. It works out to 6.2 transactions per agent. Agents aren't, they're kind of the pawn in all of this. I think they're the ones that are getting cheated. And you do have, I'm waiting for that brokerage model. Maybe it will be Ask DOS. Maybe it will be somebody else that really comes out and is pro-agent and pro-consumer. I think it's, we've got to find that solution. I don't have the solution. I wish I did. I'd be a multimillionaire now. Maybe you and I can talk, because I do have some ideas I have ideas of how I would like it to work as a consumer, right? To make it for me. I don't want to work with one agent. I don't. What if I don't like them? What if I'm in, like when I moved to Boston, I was given an agent that specialized in residential. We're renting for a year and then we're going to buy a condo. I needed somebody that really specialized and knew the apartment market, the high-rise market, and knows the condo market. That's who I need. I don't need a residential agent that sells stuff in Waltham. That's two very different things. When I moved to Dallas, I really needed an agent in Frisco one day. I needed an agent in Fort Worth the next day, right?
Yeah.
And agents, that's one of their biggest frustrations. I would love to solve that for agents. So you never work with a client without getting paid. Right? You don't go to a lawyer. You'll never go to a lawyer and not get paid, right? I mean, a lawyer's going to charge you. If you make a phone call, you're going to get charged. Why are we not, as agents, as real estate agents, being more valuing our time more? So I think this will be interesting. I think it's really going to weed out the agents that don't have to work.
Means even the law industry has got disrupted greatly by technology. Means like lot of the basic cookie cutter work is all means asklaw.com or whatever, means whatever other sites are there, wills and registrations and deeds and all that kind of stuff. People are just doing online. So means those disruptions have come there too. So they will come in almost every sector. Means this.
So what would your we were talking about, let's go back to our original question. Our original point is that COVID is going to change everything. This is going to change a lot of things, I should say. We don't need to be panicked about it. If you're in the real estate industry, if you're in the lending industry, if you are someone like in any part of the real estate industry, we don't need to be panicked. We need to look for opportunity. Have you ever read the book Originals or Bold? Bold by, let me get this backwards, Adam Grant is, okay. Two great books. And I would highly suggest anybody here in real estate agents in particular to read those two books. But what would be your advice as somebody that's an innovator and in technology for anybody to survive this?
So it's interesting. So I was on a phone call with a bunch of friends in India. And so all business leaders, and so the similar conversations were going on there too. And they were talking about, now with so much work from home becoming such a big reality, means a lot of the big companies who have like hundreds of thousands of people, means all the back office work gets done there. They have huge office towers and all. Maybe 30% is the number which they came up with. Maybe 30% of those space may no longer be needed as they decide more and more employees can work from home. But another one brought an interesting point. He said, these days people are working from home, but the efficiency of our coders and developers has gone down because a lot of work when people are co-located, when they're at the same place, means a lot of the people assume that coding and development work is like every individual to himself. But actually, there's a lot of teamwork going on, people helping each other and all that stuff, which the work from home model has not reached that maturity yet where it can be done to the full extent possible. So what the exact impact on the commercial, say, real estate would be, means one would have to wait and see. Means obviously the whole decline in the economies of the world per se would have an impact, because means that there's nothing happening. Means oil has reached negative prices. The companies are willing to pay buyers to take oil off them. That has never happened before. So it's a weird situation to be in. But this is the time. I think I had a slide somewhere, and I'm not sharing it, but I'll just pull it up here for myself for a second. Just give me 1 second. So when we are talking about COVID, and I said we can fight COVID with COVID. And what I meant with that was the C was for crisis management, collaboration tools, communications plan. So like any other sector, means these are things which the real estate sector would also, that's the immediate focus. Means how do you deal with the crisis? How can people who work remotely, means that's all part of the C thing. The O is for organizational stability and operational excellence. Right now, the focus is on organizational stability. How do you keep the organization stable? How do you ensure that it does not keel over, kind of thing? So that's the O. And the V is for the vision, like what do we need to do for the post-corona world? What would the future of the world work going to be? What are the emerging technologies? So that is what we are talking about right now, the V, the vision for the post-corona world. The I is the innovation for resilience, because whatever model the technology world comes up with, the real estate world comes up with, means it needs to be very, very resilient, because this is something which can happen again. It's not the first time it has happened. It happened 100 years ago, but it has happened again, and it can happen again in more shorter time frame. And the D part was the disaster recovery, business continuity, disruption readiness. So you have to be ready for disruption. So once again, fighting COVID with COVID, C being crisis, collaboration, communication, O being operational excellence, organizational stability, V being vision for the post-corona world, I is innovation for resilience, and D is disaster recovery and disruption readiness.
I love it. I would love for you to send me that slide. That is a LinkedIn post right there, Deepak. You need to make that a.
It is. I think I had shared it on LinkedIn earlier. Yeah. Okay. So this is. I mean, this is what. Yeah. People just giving a focus on what people need to do, and then what I also suggest in that means get into a 30, 60, 90, 120 day planning kind of exercise with. So the 30 days, the focus would have been on just ensuring that things keep working, kind of thing. So that was the 30-day focus. Just give me 1 second again. So 0 to 30 days was just the initial response, and everybody was trying to figure out work from home and others. The 30 to 60 days was stabilization and scale up and down as needed. So most companies decided to scale down. We all know about that. A lot of employees furloughed and all that bad stuff, good stuff. 60 to 90 days, companies will start to need evaluating alternatives for the new post-COVID-19 paradigm. And then 90 to 120 days, which will start hitting soon, I'm guessing means it will be business resumption in a new normal. So as we work these 30, 60, 90, 120 day plans, means we have to do a lot of what if scenarios and also plan Bs. Means what would happen if this happens? What would happen if this does not happen, kind of things. And if this happens, or if this does not happen, what is my plan B? What could I be doing? So this is something which everybody needs to be focused on, irrespective of what sector one is operating in.
Yeah. No, that's great. That's really helpful. Yeah, I think this time is going to define us and define who's going to evolve and and change, especially in the real estate industry. There are going to be people that evolve, and they're going to stay, and they're going to continue to have great careers in it. But you're going to have to rethink it. Or it's a time. I'm going to be talking to Scott Simpson of Video Marketing World tomorrow to talk about ways that real estate agents, people in the real estate industry, whether you're a lender or somebody like Matt Kearns, who does a really great job marketing. He's an inspector, or somebody like Roger Wakefield, who's in plumbing. What are some ways that you can innovatively use video and marketing to, whether you stay in the industry you're in or whether you need to recreate your career? So, yeah, we've got to be innovative, and we have to have a vision, and we have to be willing to disrupt. I can't remember what the C and the O were, but that was the vid part of COVID.
This means human beings themselves, means the dinosaurs became extinct. We survived. A disruptive event happened. So this time around, a disruptive event has happened. Mankind will still figure out a way to survive and thrive despite all this. Means in the real estate field also, there would be dinosaurs who would perish, and then the smarter mammals or humans would figure out a way to, as you said in the beginning, the silver lining in all this. They'll figure it out.
Right. Well, so for everybody listening, thank you so much. We do hope you'll look for the silver lining and reach out to me or to Deepak if you want to ask any questions. I will put his information for his podcast and his Twitter handle back in the comments shortly, so that you can find that there. Really appreciate everybody being on the call today. And Deepak, any closing words?
No, this was great fun. Means it's as I said earlier, means it's not a sector which I play in on every day. That conversation with Ryan Harper started me thinking about it, and then followed up with the conversation with you. Means thanks for inviting me to your community, getting me included in this, and the conversations with you, even the ones leading up to this, have been very informational, as well as means. I'm sure means there are means the kind of passion and enthusiasm, Lindy, which you have for this space, means that shows when you're doing these shows. And so I'm guess there are many others who are gaining and benefiting from this. May their tribe increase, and let's bring about meaningful change in this sector. I mean, as you said, there is no for and against kind of thing. Means we are all in this. Even your entire real estate community has to be all in it together to figure out what to do best and serve the best interest, rather than just for this community, but keeping the consumers at the center, because ultimately means that the consumer or customer is what drives. There's a Gandhi saying, no, the cliche one, the customer is the reason of your existence and all that. So without the customer, nothing exists.
No, nothing exists. And I think what you said was meaningful change. We need to have meaningful change, meaningful disruption. And we are all in it together. And we've got to, I think at the end of the day, most people, the majority of people are, they want to do what's right. I think even in my industry, even though I think a lot of us can be frustrated with it at times, most people are in this business because they care about people. They really want them to. They really want to help them in that transition. So,
and there are parallels. Means Netflix coming about has not killed the movie. Earlier, people thought movie theaters would go out of business. Movie theaters have become even better, and reclining seats and food in the theaters, and God knows, means all so much creative changes. Ubers and taxis are coexisting in New York City, LA, everywhere else. Means this preconceived notion that a change coming in will make everybody else go away. I mean, that's not happened. I mean, the Netflix and the movie theater is the best example.
It's a good example, right? No, it's a good example. So, well, awesome. Well, it's great to talk to you. Yeah. I appreciate your perspective on technology and innovation, because I think it's what we've got to, keep our heads focused on right now, and in order to kind of see what's next and what's ahead. And we've got to stay positive and be there to help other people. So Deepak, thank you so much. I appreciate it. So thanks everybody for joining in today.
Yeah, stay safe. Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care.